As a female athlete, Evie Davis shares the often overlooked experience with sports injuries.
I was not an athletic kid. And thankfully, I never really had any interest in sports. Growing up, while other kids joined the soccer team, I played New York Fashion Week. But as I reached middle school, I realized that coming up with the hottest new fashion trends for the upcoming fall wasn't going to help me in the social acceptance category. And everyone knows that the quickest way to build relationships is to join a sports team. So, as the new self-proclaimed team player, I joined the lacrosse team. I never fully grasped the excitement of running up and down a field, nor how it helped you build connections with others, but I did see some activity brewing, so I figured it was just part of the algorithm. It wasn't even 2 weeks into practice, and I was killing it. I was even winning the warm-up runs and receiving feedback from my coach that I was the hardest working player on the team. I was feeling good and had big things in store. Maybe, just maybe, I would be voted team captain of the highly prestigious 8th grade girls lacrosse team. But then, one Wednesday evening during practice, everything changed. I was aggressively going for a ball against one of my teammates when I heard a pop. I was carried off the field and soon learned of an important ligament in the knee called the ACL. The anterior cruciate ligament. Yeah, I had no idea what that meant either, but I had a complete tear. I looked at my mom, not totally sure how this obscure ligament in my knee would impact my captain's responsibilities, but by the look on her face, it wasn't good. The ACL is one of the key ligaments for stabilization in the knee. And it turns out for my lacrosse team, I wasn't alone in this ACL catastrophe thing, as 2 other girls on my team also tore their ACLs just within weeks of my injury. Who knew that these 3 little letters could have such a big impact on me and my life? But after ACL surgery and the 6-month-long recovery process, despite my lacrosse career being over, my knee journey wasn't even close to it. Because shortly after being released to return to sports, my knee gave out on me while skiing. I had torn my newly reconstructed ACL again. As I was being sledded down the mountain by the ski patrol, I couldn't help but feel cheated. I mean, I was cleared to go skiing. I had checked all the boxes. I did everything that they told me to do. And yet, there I was again in the exact same spot that I was just a year before. But this time, a second ACL surgery would be a little bit different, with a 9-month-long recovery process instead of 6. And if I got surgery then, I wouldn't be ready to try out for tennis that fall. But my surgeon said because my leg was still strong from physical therapy, that I could actually play tennis on a torn ACL. He said it would take some more physical therapy and quad strength, but boys did it all the time. And I didn't want to be the kid that didn't have a sport, so that's what I did. We had a plan. For 5 months, I went to PT 3 times a week and would do knee exercises every night before bed. My leg was stronger than it had ever been when I walked into tennis tryouts on August 1st. I remember my mom dropping me off, and before I got out of the car, I looked at her and said, "I'm ready for this, right? I'm strong enough?" And she smiled and looked at me and said, "Yeah, Evie, you're ready." But 10 minutes into the tryout, I was going backwards for an overhead ball, and my leg gave out on me again. 2 weeks later, when I got my MRI back, I learned that in addition to my torn ACL, I had a torn PCL, MCL, and meniscus. My physical therapist said that he was surprised that I was even walking, let alone playing tennis, as the inside of my left knee looked like spaghetti. He said that my leg was actually strong enough to withstand the fall, but it was because my left hip was 30% weaker than my right hip, and that's why my leg gave out on me. Needless to say, the The plan had failed, and I was back into surgery again. These surgeries took up 3 years of my life. I felt like my body was failing me, and I couldn't understand why my body was incapable of doing something that everyone else's could. But rather than just assuming that my knee hates me, I decided to look into why my leg was acting this way. And I found out from Yale Medicine that women are 2 to 8 times more likely to tear their ACLs than men, and have a greater chance of re-tearing it after recovery. Finding this out made me wonder why I never knew this before, and how it can be prevented. And it turns out that in the US, up to 80,000 female high school athletes tear their ACLs every year. And this number is only growing, as through a study by Signature Medical Group of private insurance data of 148 million US citizens, the average annual ACL surgery rate from 2002 to 2014 rose 22%. But for teen girls, that number rose 59%. Further, although 50% of athletes are women, only 6% of sports injury research focuses on women. As more women are joining sports, the way that we are training for them hasn't evolved to match the physique of the female body. Because once we hit puberty, our hips widen, throwing off the balance of our body, causing our knees and hips to give out on us. We should be able to play whatever sports we want and compete at the highest level, but we need to be given the resources to do so. And this isn't about gender role inequality. This is about the physical inequality between females and males that isn't being recognized. And with the average age range of an ACL tear being between the ages of 14 and 18, we need to teach these things in our middle school and high school sports programs. The National ACL Coalition, formed by the Aspen Institute and the Hospital for Special Surgery, found that the practice of small muscular strengthening movements that they call neuromuscular training can actually reduce this growing injury rate. They found that just spending 25-minute sessions 3 times per week can lower the injury rate from 1 in 54 athletes to 1 in 111 athletes. I get goosebumps when I think about what the results would have been if they had just done this study on female athletes and added hip strengthening exercises into the regimen. Of course, this raises the question, if this neuromuscular training program only benefits those at risk for an injury, why should every athlete have to spend hours per week during this training? And well, yes, as this program is targeted toward those at risk for an injury, the neuromuscular training program benefits the co-activation of all the muscles in the leg, improving endurance, agility, and overall muscular power, giving us healthier athletes and more successful athletes overall. Throughout time, the U.S. has made extreme improvements in recognizing the severity of concussions and its impact on athletes' lives. But with this growing injury rate, I think it's high time that we draw attention to this life-altering injury as well. And especially as the number of girls in sports is only growing. As in 1972, only around 300,000 girls were on a sports team. Whereas today, 3.42 million girls play sports. And as this number grows, so does the rate of injury. And this neuromuscular training program is just one way to start. I think it should be implemented in middle school and high school sports programs across the U.S. When I returned to tennis, I got the question from my coach, "Are you ready?" My answer? Yes, I've been working really hard in PT. My leg is strong now. I'm ready to play. That was the answer that I heard from college athletes and professional athletes on TV and everywhere. I'm ready to play. I always saw that and I thought, wow, that's awesome. Good for them. They're ready to play. But until I found myself saying the same thing, I realized that I wasn't. I was saying what my coaches and parents wanted to hear, but more importantly, what I wanted to believe. After many years of PT and the seemingly perpetual battle with my knee, I find myself receiving the question, do you trust your knee? And as much as I wish that answer to be a definitive yes, it's not. Because I don't. This injury has made me question my trust in my body and my trust in myself. After a fourth surgery to remove a surgical staple that my bone rejected, my surgeon told me that I would be walking in 4 days, maximum. I couldn't walk for 4 weeks. I went to my surgeon and asked him what was going on. I mean, he promised me that I would be walking. I did everything that they told me to do post-surgery. And he told me that my leg had PTSD. After being altered and re-injured so many times, it just physically didn't want to work anymore. It was fixed, but it wasn't functioning. It was tired and it was done, and honestly, so was I. I joined sports to build relationships and trust with my peers, but that didn't happen. Instead, I destroyed my knee and my trust in myself. But if middle schools and high schools were willing to implement these exercises into their sports programs, that could change thousands of girls' lives, girls just like me. And then everyone could join the sports social circle, but more safely. Because no team bonding dinner is worth losing your trust in your body and your trust in yourself. Thank you.